the third year OT student from KU Medical Center. Today we are going to be getting some exercise while we make our bed. But first, before we start our exercise, I want to emphasize that we have to do our deep breathing before we do any type of movement test. So we're going to do 5 deep breathing breaths. And so we're going to start with our first breath. And I'm sitting down so that way I can be fully focused on my deep breathing. I'm going to start with breathing in through our nose and out through our mouth. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's do 2 more. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's do our last one. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. Okay, so we did our 5 deep breaths, and so now we have delivered some oxygen to our muscles, so that way our muscles are ready to do some exercise when making our bed, and we also got our lungs ready and stretched for when we are doing more movement throughout the task, because as we move more, our body is going to want to breathe more, so that way we are delivering enough oxygen to our muscles. Another key thing that I want to emphasize is that throughout this task, you might be moving around a little, whether you're able to stand and kind of walk alongside the bed to kind of move the blankets down, or if you're in your wheelchair and you're able to kind of move yourself, you want to make sure that your space around you is clear of clutter, that you don't have anything that you're going to trip over or that you're going to run into, so that way you are safe when you are making your bed, because especially since it'll be exercise while making your bed, we don't want anyone to be tripping over something, because especially once your body gets tired, it's a little bit harder to try to navigate moving around stuff. So make sure that everything is cleared up and there's nothing that you're going to trip over. As we can see that my bed isn't made yet, and what's awesome about trying to get exercise when you're making your bed, just like I said in the beginning of the video, is that you can still get some exercise, get your muscles moving, and then also get something done for the day. So I'm excited to make my bed, kind of give my arms some good warm up for the morning, because then I don't have to worry about making my bed later today. And I already did a great thing of getting exercise. And so what we're first going to do is that we're going to start off with just kind of simply fitting the sheets in the comforter. And so like I said, we're going to be doing some of those movements of lifting up your shoulder, pulling, using your hands. And so if you're able to stand, my suggestion would be that you kind of stabilize yourself kind of up against the bed, so kind of rest up against the bed, because you're going to be possibly standing for a little bit. And so what you're going to do is that with your affected arm, your unaffected arm, whichever one you choose, you're just going to kind of lift up your arm. So do that shoulder flexion of lifting it up, and you're going to bend your elbow and pull it back. So you could do that a couple times to kind of get that range in there and to try to really straighten out the blanket. And you're going to kind of just keep lifting up your arm to pull blankets back. And you can see it's just a lot of just kind of up and down and pulling. And that's kind of for the bottom sheet. And then when you're ready to do your bigger comforter, and your comforter is actually going to give you a better workout, because sometimes the comforter is a little bit heavier. So when you are lifting it, make sure that if you feel like you're a little bit off balance, make sure that you're stabilizing. If this is your affected side, you might need to flip over to your affected side, and you can possibly do some crossing over, get some good rotation in your core. And so you could do it this way or this way, but either way you should still be able to kind of lift up your arm and do that same movement to pick it up, and just kind of more of that picking up and pulling back. So we're doing this motion, we're kind of picking it up and pulling it back, picking it up and pulling it back. So if you're in a wheelchair, I'm using my ball because I forgot to bring a chair in here, so I'm going to use my ball. But if you're about this height, depending on the height of your bed, sometimes if your bed's lower, you can get that good core exercise in there of kind of reaching over, like that exercise your ab muscles. But it's pretty much the same thing that if you're standing up. So you're going to be lifting up your arm, affected, unaffected. If your arm is getting tired, you can use your unaffected arm to kind of help pick it up like that. Or you could give your affected arm a break and kind of stick with one arm. But strongly recommend that you try to exercise both arms just to get that warm up going for your shoulders. And so obviously grabbing the bottom blanket, getting that good shoulder flexion, lifting it up and just pulling it back, and just kind of doing more of that lifting, fixing the blanket until you feel like that it is to your desired straightness. And then now you're ready for the comforter, and it's a little bit heavier again, so if you want to try to lift it up like that, if your arm is getting tired, or stick with your unaffected arm to do it, you have a lot of options for being able to still give your upper body some good exercise. So lifting it and setting it down. And while you're doing that, that also is giving your finger some really great exercise too, because you're having to grab it like that. You're having to grab it and lift it. And if you kind of struggle with that, you can kind of just like, you know, if you struggle, the nice thing about comforter is that since it's a little thick, it's kind of easier to grab a spot. So if you struggle with fully closing your hand, you can still try to, like, you know, lift it up with like one finger or something like that, you know, lift it up with one finger and then kind of clasp down with your other finger. And so that still gives your hand some exercise. And then your comforter is made. So for the next one, we are going to work on getting some exercise when working with our pillows. I don't know about you, but sometimes whenever I wake up in the morning, my pillows kind of get all like crooked and stuff, so I always find myself whenever I'm making my bed that I kind of have to recorrect the pillow. And so we're just going to stick with the simple kind of just opening at the end one. So for the pillow, again, if you're able to stand, try to kind of stabilize yourself up against it, because since you might be standing for a while, and then if you ever do get tired, put some weight on either your most likely your affected arm, so that way you can get that weight input through your arm. That's always good for that affected arm. So if you're going to try to put the pillowcase on, you're going to be doing a lot of kind of lifting up. You're going to kind of lift up with your unaffected arm, affected arm, whichever one you choose. Lift up the pillow so you're getting that raising motion in there, that squeezing, that grabbing. If you struggle with grabbing, you can kind of just do the, you know, scooting, so you can scoot the pillow closer to you, and that's still a good workout for your arms, because you're kind of doing that. It's for your pec muscle right there, so you're getting that movement towards your body. And so what you're going to do is that you're just going to kind of hold it. You can use your body to stabilize the pillow, and you're just going to lift up the pillowcase over the pillow. And again, you can choose whichever arm that you want. Always recommend that you listen to your body if you feel like that your body's starting to get tired. Always have a chair nearby if you need to take a break. Always utilize that you kind of leaning up against something to relax your muscles. And then always try out lifting up your arm if it starts to get tired. So you're just gonna do that motion of just kind of pulling your arm like that, kind of like when we go like this. And so you're gonna pull the pillowcase over, and that's some good resistance for your muscles, because since the pillowcase has its fabric that's rubbing up against the fabric of the pillow, and so that gives you some good resistance for your muscles to get a great exercise. And then you have your pillowcase on, and the same can be, you can get really great exercise for if you want to fluff up your pillow. So say this one is kind of the memory foam pillow, so for this type of pillow where it's like the feather pillow, you can get a good exercise by fluffing it up, by doing this with both of your arms. If you want to just use one arm, you can use your your body to stabilize it, and just kind of go like that. Lift up your other arm maybe, go like that, and then fluff it up. And that gives your shoulders and your pec muscles right there a great exercise. And so you could do that, or even if you need to take off the pillowcase, because if you want to switch out the pillowcase or if you want to wash it, that can give you some great exercise too. So you would just kind of hold down the pillow with one arm, and you can exercise your hands by like pulling them under, sliding them under, and just sliding off the pillowcase like that. And you get that motion again of going like this. Now, if you really want to try, say if you're trying to put on the pillow, so I know a lot of people, they try to hold it with their chin and they kind of do the shimmy. They try to lift it up like that. So if you want, you can even try to do that, because then that gives you your exercise of going like this with your pillow. The same motion of trying to hold it down and push it off. So you're kind of going like this with your arm. You're lifting it up, but also pushing out your elbow. And you're doing that. You're pushing it. You have your pillowcase off for when you want to take it off to put a new one on, or if you want to put your pillowcase on, you can hold it with one hand right here. You can push it like this, or you can do the shimmy. You can try to bring the pillow down to your thighs, and you can kind of go like this with your arms. So kind of lift them up and raise them and shake it down. Okay, and then the final way that you can get some great exercise in your arms is by folding the blankets. So you have your comforter and your sheets that you pulled up onto your bed, and now that it's getting colder, you might have a throw blanket or a top blanket for you to be able to keep yourself extra warm at night. And so one really great way that you can get some exercise is by folding it. And so if you're folding it to have your bed made for the rest of the day, if you're standing, again, always suggest to try to rest up your leg if you start to get tired up against your bed, using your arm to kind of hold you up, get that weight input into your affected arm. And it's same as kind of with a lot of the movements with pulling up your blankets, and then also your pillowcases, is you're going to be doing a lot of that lifting up. So what I'm going to do is that I'm actually going to find the edge, and this is a great visual task for you as well, because it kind of requires you to do some scanning, looking for like the edges of the blanket. And so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to kind of do this big movement of lifting my arm up and throwing it over, and you kind of get some good core exercise in that because you're going to be leaning over. And so what you're going to do is that you're going to lift it up, and then you're also going to pull back. You're going to pull back the blanket and grab the next corner that you find and pull it back. So you kind of have the blanket that you're just kind of doing this constant pulling, lifting, that side motion of pulling it up closer to you. So if you're doing this with your unaffected arm, if you want to do it with your affected arm, you can always just try to lift it up as much as you can, even just trying to grab it. You can just try to grab it, and then if you just want to just do that, just try to grab it to give it that movement. You can always try to lift it and then like set it down, and then you can always just try to line it up, which is another great visual exercise, is that you're trying to find what lines are lined up. And so you're just doing more pulling the blanket closer to you, another big shoulder raise movement. And then this is the part that kind of gets a little bit fun. And so as you fold it more, it gets a little bit heavier. And so that's going to give your shoulders a really great exercise, your whole entire arm actually a great exercise, because you're going to find the corner again, and you're going to just do this big movement. You can do one big movement, and then I would suggest that you kind of do some small movements, so that way you're just kind of giving it that repetitive exercise of your arm to get as many movements in, so that way your muscles are able to warm up and also get some strengthening in. So you're just going to be kind of finding the corners, then tossing over. If you want to kind of scoot over like that, if you want to walk over and just follow the blanket as you're moving it. Again, just doing more constant lifting it up, and then pulling. So a lot of up and over, some shoulder extension, and then elbow flexion. So you're going like this to get the blanket closer to you, so you can fix it and have it be as folded as possible. Again, doesn't need to be perfect, because if you're going to use it that night, then it's gonna be unfolded eventually. So just as long as you feel comfortable with it just being folded. And I'm just going to fold it over one more time. So I'm going to find my corner and I'm just going to go boop like that. And then I'm just going to pull it closer to me, and I'm just going to call it a day. I'm going to pat it down, and that's an exercise, trying to go like that. Pat, pat, pat. Again, it's the same thing, trying to find the corner. So using your visual scanning, trying to look for the corner, and doing those lifting movements, but also those bending movements, because you're going to have to kind of bend over a little bit to kind of put it in the middle. Put that corner in the middle, pull the edge of the blanket, the other end of the blanket, to find the next corner. So you're going to pull like that, and you're going to try to lift it to find the corner. You're going to do the same thing as you did with this side. You're just going to bend over and lift it. And you're going to grab these other sides, kind of that are hanging off, and lift up. And so when you do that, you're just going to kind of keep pulling the blanket down. I'm going to find the next corner that's right here, and I'm just going to throw it. So that's a good movement of trying to kind of get that power in there, of trying to toss it on top. You don't have to try to toss it on top super hard, just kind of doing that light, just tossing, and pull it closer to you. Do that pulling, so that way you can try to just get the edges lined up as much as possible. I'm going to grab this edge and I'm going to put it on top of there. I'm going to do another lifting up. And you can choose which arms you want to do this. If you want to do this with your unaffected arm, if you want to try it with your affected arm, just to try to lift it up as much as possible, just to kind of set it on top. You can always do the picking up your arm and going like that. You're going to do more pulling. So a lot of this exercise is just like when you're standing, is just some pulling and lifting. And just like when you're standing, it's going to get fun, because as the blanket folds more, it gets a little bit heavier. So you might need to use both arms. So using both arms to try to fold it over like that. And if you want to you don't want to do a big fold, you can do like a little one, like a small one like that, and then you can just keep folding over on top of itself. All right, great work everyone for finding ways to get exercise while you're making your bed. And I will say that it's super important that you listen to your body as you're making your bed and as you're getting that exercise, because if you do feel like that you're starting to get tired, you need to make sure that you are taking an opportunity to sit down and take some of those deep breaths, so that way you can recover and feel like that you have the energy to get back to doing what you were doing before when making your bed. We want you to be safe and to not have any type of injury or something like that because of your body getting tired. And so really listen to your body, and always have like a chair nearby for you to be able to sit down. Another thing I want to emphasize, that as you're making your bed, really try to take those opportunities to put that weight input on your affected arm. So whether it's your left arm or your right arm, as you're doing those types of movements with one of your arms to do like the lifting, the pulling, the grabbing, always take a moment to try to put the weight on the other arm, that as you're holding it down, you can hold it down for a certain amount of time, or you can do it multiple times, like count to like, okay, 1, 2, 3, and then, you know, lift up the blanket. So really try to put that weight input into your arm, because that's a great way to give that arm that sensory input for you to be able to use it more.